wonder what your rights are as a consumer? Did you ever have a problem as a consumer and didn't know where to turn for assistance? Well, our next guest is Karen Benson Adams, and she's the Consumer Information Officer for the Delaware Division of Consumer Affairs. And she's going to answer some of these questions for us. Karen, I'm glad you could join us here tonight.
Thank you, Bob. It's a pleasure to be here.
And now, as a representative of the State Division of Consumer Affairs, could you give us a rundown on what your services are that the division provides?
Well, basically, Bob, we have a variety. You can kind of break it down into three separate functions. The first function is in the area of consumer fraud. We enforce the Delaware's consumer fraud laws, which involve deceptive advertising, misleading ads, things of this nature, which basically are designed to see that ads can be substantiated and that, in fact, they do not mislead or deceive the consumers in Delaware. So that's one of our functions. If, in fact, we investigate an advertisement and find that it may be misleading or deceiving, we can take action against a business by issuing cease and desist orders, and that, in fact, outlines what the nature of the problem is, and hopefully the business will discontinue that particular practice. And that, as I mentioned, is really one of our functions. And then we get involved also in the mediation of consumer complaints, which I would say it takes primarily the bulk of our manpower. That's really one of the biggest things that we do.
You'd mentioned cease and desist orders. What are some examples of recent cease and desist orders that you've issued, and for instance, what type of violations have been cited?
Well, today, as a matter of fact, I put together a press release on a cease and desist order, and a lot of the problems that we have in Delaware happen to be seasonal. And in this particular order, we cited a home improvement firm. It was a contractor in Newark, and what had happened in this case was he had negotiated a contract, failed to do what it was he outlined in the contract. Another problem with contracts sometimes is guarantees. You know, they'll say fully guaranteed for life or within a certain period of time, and a business or a company will fail to honor that guarantee. So by issuing the order, what we also hope to do is to publicize it. So one of the key things, one of my key functions really, is to put together news releases. So through the media, we can kind of warn consumers that these businesses would not necessarily be the best ones to do business with. As I mentioned, seasonal home improvement is a really big problem in Delaware, particularly around this time of year. One thing I would mention is that in signing a contract, okay, say you have someone come to your home and negotiate a contract with you, the consumer has 3 days in which to change his mind. Right. And a contract must contain that notice of cancellation. So it kind of gives you 3 days. They call it a cooling off period, which in some cases is needed.
In case the decision is perhaps made hastily.
Exactly.
Now, besides law enforcement, what other functions does your division perform?
Well, I mentioned mediating complaints, and I emphasize mediation because we, in fact, cannot order restitution. You know, sometimes people call us up and they say, well, can't you demand that the business give me a refund or whatever? And in fact, we can't. However, we have been very successful in mediating. Some of the complaint areas would be landlord-tenant is a big problem area in Delaware, so many renters. We've got warranty problems, credit problems. Really, it runs the gamut. But basically, last year we were successful in recovering $75,000 for Delaware consumers through our mediation efforts.
That's a pretty good success rate.
It's certainly not bad for a state the size of Delaware. As a matter of fact, this year we've already recovered, I think, $78,000. So we're bettering our track record.
Okay. What about product safety? Now, I understand that the division is an active member of Operation Burn Prevention Task Force. Could you elaborate a little bit?
Yes, that's one of our more recent product safety efforts. We are the state designee for the federal U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission, which is a mouthful. They are the ones that can ban unsafe products from the marketplace. And basically what we do is disseminate important information to consumers. We've gotten involved in the proposed ban of the urea formaldehyde installation, which you may be familiar with.
Yes.
That received quite a bit of publicity. And the burn prevention is our latest public awareness effort. We are trying to make people aware of what they can do to protect themselves from burn injuries. We have found through our research that there are quite a number of people in Delaware who get burned every year. It's very costly, it's very traumatic, and we have an educational campaign, really, that we are bringing to civic and community groups. For example, just as scalding problems, that 100% preventable. Scalding burns are preventable. And you can do this, say, by turning down the temperature of your hot water heater. So by doing that, not only do you conserve energy, but you would hopefully reduce the incidence of scalding accidents. So there are things you can do.
That's useful information. Are there any consumer programs in the works for the summer months?
Well, yes. One of I think the key target groups that we will be trying to reach as far as education goes would be Delaware senior citizens. I recently returned from a conference in Washington, and what it really was training senior citizens in consumer skills. And so often I think that either number one, we're not quite sure of what our rights are as consumers, and number two, we may either not be reluctant to complain or not know how to complain. So we'll be doing a series of workshops for seniors throughout the state at the senior centers in order to make them aware of what services we provide and how they can get in touch with us. And I would encourage anybody with a consumer problem or a question. They don't have to wait till they have a problem. We like to give out information before a problem arises as well.
Well, thanks, Karen. Let's show the viewers the telephone number that the division, so they can know where to call if they have any complaints.
Very good, Bob.
And that number is?
571-3250.
571-3250.
Right, here in Wilmington. We're at 9th and French in the State Building.
Thanks, Karen.